Welcome to Total Retail Talks, your podcast channel for retail knowledge.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of Total Retail Talks. I'm Joe Keenan, Editor-in-Chief of Total Retail, and I am joined on today's episode by John Meagher, who is the Senior Director of Marketing for North America at Wrangler. And John and I are going to be discussing a little bit about Wrangler's sustainability initiatives, in particular what it did this past Earth Day, as well as a little bit what it has planned for going forward to become a sustainable brand. So thank you for joining me today, John.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
So as I alluded to, for this year's Earth Day, Wrangler launched a new jean collection, the Westward 626 Earth Day jean. So to get us started, can you tell us a little bit about that product and in particular, its sustainability features?
Yeah, well, to take a step back, 2022 is our 75th anniversary. And as part of that, we are digging into our archives and releasing designs sort of from our storied history. So the Earth Jean itself actually reinterprets the design we found from the 1970s. And it sort of, I wish, this is an audio medium, I wish I could show it visually, but it visually communicates sort of sustainability and environmental messages. And so the design itself features like bodies of water and cotton fields and flowers and polluting smokestacks and sort of phrases scrawled on it, such as pass me on and keep me happy, sort of reuse messages that sort of reinforce the pro-environment message. So it really is a storytelling piece in that sense. The jean itself is responsibly crafted. So it features 100% organic cotton, digitally printed designs, low impact wash, little things like easy to remove and recycle raw copper buttons and a vegan leather patch, and just little details that ensure it's it's produced and crafted responsibly. But the Earth Jean for Earth Day, as I said, it was really a storytelling piece to bring a focus to sustainability, give people something specific to engage with on Earth Day. And as such, like as a single piece, sort of, we recognize it's not where the meaningful scale progress is made on sustainability. That we do see value in these sort of fashion story pieces to keep the conversation going, get it in the mainstream, and in tandem with sort of the scale sustainability pillars and practices that we do on a day-to-day basis, and we're continually improving on from a design and product development purpose.
Yeah, I think you raise a good point, John, in terms of this just being a single piece, obviously, and you're trying to embed some of these sustainability practices across the organization. Leads into my kind of second question in terms of, tell us a little bit about the role that sustainability plays in Wrangler's current operations, from product manufacturing with this specific jean in mind, all the way through to, supply chain, to other areas of the business. Talk a little bit about that role of sustainability.
For sure, yeah. So firstly, Wrangler We Care is our global sustainability platform. So We Care is sort of the framework within everything that we do from a sustainability perspective. And so that is acting as our sort of roadmap as we help both lead ourselves forward, but hopefully push the industry forward to meaningful change in sort of positive environmental and social impacts. And We Care is focused on three areas: people, product, and planet. People being things as such as worker well-being and the importance of that with the partners we work with in development of product. Product being things like responsible design, preferred chemistry and the traceability of our materials. And then planet, obviously preserving the land and the way we source cotton, saving water and engaging in renewable energy. So We Care is, it really codifies the pillars and practices that we're committed to in order to really drive this continual progress and change, both internally at Wrangler and at Contour, our parent company, as well as with the partners we work with. So whether that be manufacturers or material suppliers or, retail partners, as well as sort of given our presence as a big brand in this industry, as well as the sort of the impact it can have on the industry as a whole. So as we sort of, I guess, as we head into, as the rubber hits the road, as we head into each season and each collection, it really is one of the first topics that's discussed, largely because, obviously we recognize the importance of it, but, really importantly, and to be frank, we understand the complexity of it at this point. So it's much more than just attacking it at the fringes, like with these smaller projects I've talked about. It's the hard work of how to make our whole product development process really more sustainable. And the specifics of that are things like material sourcing. So the way we source our cotton and the way we develop more recycled materials, our process. So an example of our process being this Indigood technology that we developed that allows us to create fabric and dye fabric using 90% less fresh water than conventional fabrics. It includes the sort of the washing and the finishing part of the process, so helping us to save water, use preferred chemistry and reduce the impact in that part of the process. And then as well as how we, and this is a big topic that I'm sure you're hearing a lot about, like how we develop clothing in a way that facilitates circularity. So, that's sort of the use and the reuse and the durability of the product that we create. An example of that, we were, quite early to sign on to the Ellen MacArthur Foundation's Jeans Redesign Program. That was a really kind of a really great set of guidelines for the industry that provided the roadmap to design jeans that are used more, to design jeans and products that are sort of made to be made again, and also made from safe and recycled or renewable inputs. So that's one of the areas we're looking at. The other area that is sort of core to sustainability, especially from our perspective, but I think the industry as a whole, is a big part of sustainability is just creating durable, long-lasting clothing. Because there is obviously incredible progress being made in technology and processes and things like that. But at its heart, if we can create durable, long-lasting clothing and remain committed to that with timeless style, that's going to play a big role in creating less landfill and the like. And it's something that's been true to Wrangler as a brand, since we were born for the West, born for cowboys. That durability has been true for 75 years now.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I'm going to get into a little further into our discussion about particularly how you've mentioned all this great work that Wrangler is doing around sustainability from a marketing perspective, telling that story to your audiences. But I first want to ask a little bit about sort of the goals or the mission that Wrangler is committed to be a more sustainable brand going forward. Talk a little bit about that commitment that you've made and how you try to deliver and meet the goals that you set.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I think that's you've almost gone back to front now, because I think that's the thing with WeCare. The platform of WeCare includes very kind of aggressive goals that are then worked towards by those pillars and practices that I just talked through. So the goals that we've set out, that are set out through our parent company, Contour Brands, and the goals that we're currently tracking towards are these. So first up, saving 10 billion litres of water by 2025. And actually, just before I go into it, I think it is important to note that, sustainability, is very much a work in progress for everyone. It's it's a process of continually improving day in, month in, year in. Like it's getting better all the time. I think we've committed to quite near-term goals. So, we're committed to aggressive near-term goals. But then, beyond that, it's about how we then step change and continue to improve. So what I'll set out here, hopefully, super simple to explain, probably not simple to get to. Simple goals that are quite near term and really show commitment. So first up is saving 10 billion litres of water by 2025. Second, sourcing 100% sustainable materials, cotton by 2025 and synthetics by 2030. We're committed to powering 100% of our owned and operated facilities with renewable energy by 2025, and doing as much as we can to contribute to our partners to do the same, and supporting them in doing the same. Using 100% preferred chemistry by 2023, so being really careful about the process of washing and finishing and how we go about that. In 2022, we'll be establishing a science-based target to reduce greenhouse gas emissions aligned with the Paris Climate Accord's 1.5 degree goal. And then really on the people side of things, working with factories and committing to factories who really invest in worker wellbeing programs and committing to only doing that by 2025. So obviously continually improving today, but having a set goal for that.
Yeah, and those are some lofty goals that you're setting and you're working towards meeting. And to your point, there's a lot of work that goes into meeting those goals, but it's always good to have a target to shoot for. So kudos for that. I'm interested to talk a little bit about in your conversations with consumers and customers and sort of your research, what are you hearing from them about the importance of having a commitment to environmental sustainability? We hear so much about consumers want to shop with brands and retailers that share common values that they do and align with their own values. Tell us a little bit about what you're hearing from the Wrangler customer.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting topic, and it's what we're hearing is not just from the Wrangler customer. We're obviously doing a lot of research on a broader scale, but it's a bit. There's definitely a couple of different tales coming out because on the one hand, we're hearing time and time again that you're hearing the same thing probably, that there's a real expectation of companies and brands, excuse me, like like Wrangler and big American and global brands to they need to be taking a stance, they need to be showing progress, they need to be sort of taking the lead in this area, knowing that government plays a role, but brands have to play a big role. So there's a general feeling from consumers that sustainability is important to them. They understand its impact, or they somewhat understand the impact on the environment, and the impact on the potential the future impacts, whether that be climate or otherwise. However, on the flip side, especially in North America compared to, say, Europe, it's definitely not a strong purchase driver in the short term, or there's not necessarily a sort of a willingness to pay more for more sustainable products, at least at scale. So yeah, it is an interesting dichotomy to a degree. Like, in some respects, people say, yes, I really care about sustainability and I'm all for it and I'm all for the environment. But in terms of what they're willing to do to actually kind of generate that change, there's a question mark. And the thing that we've found, and the thing that's interesting, is that it's sort of small changes in consumers' lives that add up is the way a lot of them, and I can't speak for everyone here, this is research and it's certain sample sizes, but it's these small changes and small kind of contributions in their daily lives. That's how they're doing their bit. So it's not grand kind of purchases or grand commitments on an ongoing basis, but it's these small things that add up. And so the thing that I was talking about earlier about, and the one that comes up time and time again as the number one thing they can do, or they think they can do the most simply from an apparel perspective, is just buy good quality products. So buy things that actually last longer, so it's not as disposable. So that for us is it kind of resonates, and it obviously aligns with a lot of what I've talked about earlier, that it's, if we can just, because obviously it's been true to our brand for a lot of years. Like, we are a Western brand. We started as a Western brand. We remain big in that space, designing sort of durable denim for, cowboys, cowgirls, people who work on the land. And that remains core of what we do today. So whether it's for that same audience or for a broader audience, of people who are buying into, our denim and the Western inspired audience, that remains core of what we do. So at the heart of what we do, if we can continue to develop, good durable denim at a decent price point, we then give more and more people that opportunity just to do that little bit, to stop that perpetuation of fast fashion and disposable fashion, and to contribute in a way that they see as realistic or doable on their part.
Yeah, not a huge, to your point, these little things that add up, not a huge commitment, but they're looking for a product that has an extended life cycle that can then have an impact.
Exactly, and doing it in a way that's at good value. So it's not tough times these days, with inflation and everything that's going on. People can't necessarily afford to be buying into sustainable things if they're going to cost a huge amount. So it's a challenge, and it's something we're day in, day out trying to get better at, and I'm committed to.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit from, your particular role within the marketing team, what you and your team are doing to kind of create that consumer around Wrangler sustainability initiatives, your quality of your product, as a core tenet of the brand. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing to get that messaging out there.
Yeah, as you said, it does start with, it starts with the product and the point of purchase for us. So that's the starting point in terms of communicating the sustainability initiatives or the practices. And what I mean by that is just really, really simple and transparent messaging, sort of on product, on packaging, on ticketing, that denotes when a certain jean or a certain shirt meets our sort of rigorous sustainability standards. And so what we're doing is on those products that are, that meet the standards that I sort of outlined in the sort of the WeCare platform. Those products are marked with a WeCare Wrangler mark, so a little logo that's sort of almost like a stamp of sustainability, and just some really simple messaging. Because what we want to do is we want to make it simple for people when they are either picking up a product in store or perusing products on our .com or on our major retailers.com, just to understand like what they're buying and when it does meet a certain standard and when it's more sustainable. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, I guess, as we go out a level is just continually developing content that we can use, whether it be through digital advertising, social media, or with our creators or influencers, that helps kind of unpack what we mean by WeCare, both the practices that we're engaging in with WeCare, as well as what that means to people at a human level. Like, what is it going to mean either to their daily life or to water savings within the environment? Like, just stories that we can tell. And what we're doing is doing it through the lens of the groups that we're working with. So it might be a story about where we source our cotton, or it might be a story about a designer and how they've influenced the way we craft our denim to be more reusable. So sort of storytelling that is essentially like a WeCare campaign, essentially, that we've started to develop and will continue to develop through this year and into 2023. So there's first two pillars. So I guess it's sort of product, and then there's these communications. And then third is special projects, or either special collections or projects that we're doing, a couple of which I'll talk about. One of them is the Wrangler Rooted collection. The Wrangler Rooted collection we've now released two collections, and its focus is made with 100% traceable cotton grown by American farmers. So really emphasizing supply chain transparency, sort of from farm to label. So all the cotton in the collection is traceable to individual farms, which were selected for the program sort of due to their commitment to responsible land stewardship and practices. So for example, there's an Alabama jean, like there's an Alabama cotton jean, there's a Texas jean, there's a North Carolina jean, and there are a range of tees that feature state-based designs, so state-based visuals, and are made with cotton only from that state. So that's both a collection, but also a way from a marketing perspective that we're continuing to tell that kind of traceable cotton, responsible sourcing story, whilst putting our money where our mouth is and actually, creating a collection that is true to that and true to supporting these types of farms and suppliers.
So for telling these stories, John, can you talk a little bit about the level of collaboration that's needed across various teams within the organization, from your product teams, your supply chain teams, and how you're working with them and within marketing to ensure that you're getting the messaging right? Tell us a little about kind of the internal processes.
Yeah, for sure. And this is, it is ever evolving. I have to say, it's complex. We're continually learning. And I think the headline here, or the highlight, is that sustainability has become part of the process, not separate to it. And I think that's definitely been a learning. It's been something we've been working on. It really is it's a new way of working. It requires really engaged collaboration by all functions, because it's not only a complex area, but it's an area that is continually evolving, and it literally evolves at the speed of our development process. So things will change through the development of a line, through to the development of a product, of a collection, and especially in the current climate we're in. And as we're all living through the challenges with supply chain, the challenges with inflation, that all has an impact on the way we can develop more sustainable products. So to ensure, to answer the question about ensuring we get the messaging right from a marketing perspective and from a brand perspective, the starting point for us is is really what's true, what's factual, how can we quantify, how have we improved, how does this compare to what either we've done before or compare to the market or to compare to the industry. And the tricky thing with that is that that information that we might receive, that might evolve through the development of a collection. So what was true when this idea for this collection came about, or the initial sourcing discussions came about, may evolve through the development of the collection. So it can't be just a simple handoff of information, in the way we might be able to do with other pieces of the business. It really is ongoing collaboration from sort of design through to product development to our sort of sustainability team and our sourcing team through to the merchandising team, and then legal's a big part of it, as you can imagine, making sure that what we're saying is true and factual and legally checked through to us and through to the marketing team. So it's really, it's what's true, what's factual, and then making sure through the process we are all kind of in lockstep in sort of a more complex way than potentially we've seen with other areas of our process. And really, in the same way, like as brands and as marketers and as companies, we've navigated change in an array of different areas, like the continued fragmentation of media or the incredible, evolving way social media is being used today, especially with TikTok. Like that it blows my mind. I still don't think everyone's got a handle on exactly how much that's changed. But in the same way we're learning there, I think from a sustainability process perspective, there's just a real need for us to test and learn. So doing small pilot programs or test processes internally that we can fail on, learn from, and then build back into our go-to-market process. There's also and this is something we talk about a lot, that there needs to be an openness to education and an acceptance that we definitely don't have it perfect right now, and we're not going to get it right the first time. So there's just this continual sort of internal education, and it comes from so many different directions. It might be the design team coming forward with all the new trends they're seeing. It might be the marketing team saying, look, this is interesting how we've communicated this compared to others. Like there needs to be an openness to this ongoing education, because it's continuous improvement. There's not like an end goal that we're looking at in 2025. It's like, we're going to be sorted with sustainability by then. It is continuous improvement.
Yeah. It's a never ending project, right?
It is. Yeah. With changing goalposts sort of monthly and yearly. So you've got to have a level of rigor and structure in place, whilst also having the flexibility to improve and adapt, which is it's a delicate balance.
Yeah. Well, great. I want to take the opportunity to thank John Meagher, who is the Senior Director of Marketing in North America for Wrangler, for joining us on this episode of Total Retail Talks and telling us a little bit about Wrangler's sustainability initiatives and how it kind of factors into the brand's future. So thanks for joining me today, John.
Thank you, Joe. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening. For more information on this podcast, please check out our podcast channel page at mytotalretail.com/podcasts for show notes. Total Retail Talks is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and Spotify. Make sure to subscribe on our podcast channel page as well. If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a few moments to rate and review this podcast. Thanks, and until next time, this has been Total Retail Talks.